So active labour. Active labour is when the cervix is 4 centimetres and has completely flattened out, and active labour goes from 4 centimetres to 8 centimetres. So this is what we're feeling here. We can feel good space development happening in the cervix. Okay, and this is a demonstration of the head and the soft spots that we feel on the head. So how are you going to feel in active labour? Well, the contractions are coming regularly. They're increasing in intensity. They are coming every 2 or 3 minutes apart, and when they come, they're lasting up to a full minute. Okay, so when you think about first-time mums dilating between in active labour, going from 4 centimetres to 8 centimetres, and taking and dilating half a centimetre to a centimetre an hour, you can possibly be in that stage for 8 hours. So that is running two marathons, 8 hours in active labour, with contractions coming, lasting a full minute and coming every 2 to 3 minutes apart. Which tends to mean if it gives you that 8 hours, then more or less everybody's got an opportunity to get to the hospital in this active stage of labour. You've got 8 hours to get to the hospital. So unless you're in Dunedin and planning to birth in Blenheim, you're going to make it to a hospital, and especially if you're only 5 minutes, which more or less a lot of people are in Blenheim, 5 minutes away from the hospital. And Picton is only 20 minutes away. The Waihope Valley is only 40 or 50 minutes away. So you are, and Kaikoura an hour and a half. Some women do come from Kaikoura to have their babies in Blenheim. So they often make it, once they've determined that they're in active labour, they've made it in time to have their babies. So that's what your contractions are like. How you're feeling is actually, you might start to feel a little bit uncomfortable at this stage and a bit rough. Remember those marathon runners? Well, quite often you feel like moaning through the contractions now. They stop you in your tracks now. You can't just carry on and happily say, oh, I think that's my tummy tightening. You've actually got to stop and maybe bend over a chair. You don't actually care what you look like. You don't care that your hair's all over the place and you're looking a bit sweaty. You might feel sick, and you might need to go to the toilet a lot. You actually don't notice what's going on around you anymore. You don't notice what people are saying to you, and actually you might, not everyone, you might feel like crying with the contractions now. Just remember, this journey is taking you every step closer to having your baby in your arms. So how can you help yourself? You've got to go with these contractions. You can't actually stop them. Go with it. Okay, just try and zoom into that for you. Okay, go with it. Okay, go with it. And breathing regularly stops you from being tense. You breathe in, and when you breathe in, you can feel every muscle that's holding that breath in. Well, let it go and breathe out. Okay, so when we talk about breathing, it's actually the importance of breathing out that actually releases the tension in all the muscles. Your tummy is tightening and becoming uncomfortable. You don't need to make every other muscle in your body ache by holding it tense. Okay, so try changing your position. Take a bath or a shower. Like I've said before, the water has proven to be one of the most relaxing methods of aiding yourself through labour. massage. Go into your own space, find a quieter room so that it enables you to go into your own space and internalise. Actually be vocal if you feel like being vocal, okay? And continue to sip on some fluids. It's important that you don't get dehydrated through labour. Your uterus doesn't work as effectively if you become dehydrated. So just sipping on some fluids will help. You don't need to drink gallons and gallons of water, but just sipping water as you feel you need it, okay? Right. Support people. Your role. Actually, it doesn't help support people if you're moving around noisily and saying actively trying to look somebody in the eye, saying, "Is that? Oh, how's it feeling now? Tell me. How long is it lasting? How long is it lasting?" It's actually about being quietly supportive at this stage, really. Maybe suggesting quietly and gently some changes in position. Offering massages, cold and hot packs, offering some fluids and reminding them to keep their bladder empty, and just being there with them quietly, and taking the vocal, not being in a panic state, and taking the vocalization quite well. And encouraging breathing through the contractions, breathing in and out. It's just as basic as breathing in and out. You don't need to be taught specifically how to breathe, but just taking a breath in and a breath out, and maybe breathing along with her is going to help. So that's active labour for you, which might last for 8 hours. Okay, so some of the positions that you might want to try in the first stage of labour. Really, if I can just bring this in. As you can see, okay. You've got to think about actually being upright makes more sense during labour. Being upright is going to give you that little bit of gravity that is going to allow the baby to keep the pressure on the cervix to help you dilate. One of the worst things that you can do at this stage of labour is actually go and lie down, because that takes the pressure off the cervix and actually isn't going to help you to progress through labour. So being more upright, leaning over the bed, leaning over a chair, actually coming down into an all-fours position, leaning onto a chair with nice mats just to make your knees more comfortable. This lady's got pillows underneath her bottom, supporting her bottom. And here in this position where you're leaning over the back of a chair and your support person is behind you, actually massaging the lower back, which can be very, very useful. And down here we have somebody sitting over a bedpan here, and it's about adapting what you've got in the house. So here we've got a woman sitting on a chair, over the back of a chair, over an ironing board, and that's the only useful thing I can think of for an ironing board, is to actually lean on it in labour. Otherwise, I don't think it's got any use around the house at all. Now, when we move on now to transition, very dramatic part of labour. Transition is where we are going from being 8 centimetres dilated to being fully dilated, and it's one of the most intense emotional experiences and high peaks of labour. What we have here, oops, it's no good. how the contractions will be. So you can appreciate the intensity is built up now. Okay, the intensity is the contractions are coming every 1.5 minutes, 1.5 minutes to 3 minutes. They're lasting for a full 1.5 minutes. Okay, so they're pretty much on top of each other